Yeah, we're getting her going. It is the episode 108 of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. Do I have that right? My
That's
math,
what I
think.
wrote down.
Okay, episode 108. One of these
Because I think
points I remember. I don't know if we need to keep making track. I thought 100 is a pretty cool accomplishment, and then I think on the iTunes it shows the amount of episodes that we have on here, and keep that going. And once we get to 200, which is 192 more or 92 more episodes, then
crazy.
that's still about
that's
2 years
that's
away.
still almost 2 years away. That's a long time.
Yeah. That's crazy to think that 92 episodes, but it'll be here before you know it. So
Yeah, a little under 2 years, but yeah.
So yeah, we got a lot going on. It was another tremendous week in football. Tommy DeVito is sweeping the nation. Grant probably had some chicken cutlets in his honor.
Yeah, well, get out of here. Yeah.
His agent actually is the one that stole the show. And I mean, he looked like Peyton Manning nailed it in the Manning cast, referring to him as Johnny Fontaine. He's like, oh yeah, that definitely seems like that looks like Johnny Fontaine.
That dude definitely looks like he's called a couple shots to take some people out in his day.
He's done what he's had to do. We'll say that. How about? But
oh, hey, speaking of that, guys, one of my friends at work, who's a Packers fan, not named Derek, his birthday was on Tuesday. So naturally, with the game on Monday, I'm gonna come in and ruffle his feathers a little bit because he gave me the business last Monday after the Chiefs lost. So I went up to him and I said, "Hey Tyler, happy birthday, there, bud." with the gesture.
You should have gotten him some chicken parm or some
some meatballs with
some wine, some red gravy.
Meatballs with the red gravy.
Red gravy.
So it was pretty fun. And before I know it, there were 6 or 7. I was just giving them a good time, doing the old Tommy DeVito. So it was fun.
Yeah, well, we're gonna cover. We got our regular recap, but before we're gonna do things a little bit backwards here. Usually we talk NDSU at the end of the show, but we're gonna move things up. There's been some things that have happened in Fargo, I guess you could say. Sunday afternoon, it was announced Matt Entz, NDSU head coach, he was leaving to take the associate head coach and linebackers position coach at USC. I had a reaction video I posted not long after it was announced and where he was going, things like that. You can check that out on all of our socials and give us a follow while you're there. 3GTB podcast, Three Guys Talking Ball podcast on YouTube as well. But, happy for Matt. He's a tremendous coach. He's going to help recruiting the Midwest with USC moving to the Big Ten. He's going to be a big help. He knows he has connections there. He knows how to get into some of these places, especially when the majority of the games that USC is going to be playing is going to be over in the Midwest. So easy pitch for them is, hey, you're going to be able to see your kids play. You're not going to have to travel as far. He's also an incredible defensive mind, and the last time we saw USC play, their defense was not much of a defense. They just kind of threw some guys out there and stood there. It was a lot like the stick guy meme where it just says do something, and they didn't do a whole lot. And being the associate head coach, I think he's going to provide a different perspective to Lincoln about the offense, provide something that Lincoln, I think, has been lacking. And I don't know, Alex Grinch, I think part of it is because of the system that he's been in. He was the defensive coordinator for Mike Leach, which is where Lincoln came from. So he played. So calling that defense is very tough. I think Matt is someone that's not going to be afraid and say, hey, help our defense out, run the ball, because for Exhibit A is you can go look at the Colorado game where they were up 34-14 at halftime, and they ended up winning that game 48-41. But they called 9 run. There were USC in the second half of that game ran the ball 9 times, and about over half of them were just because Lincoln called a pass and it ended up being a Caleb Williams scramble. I think you're going to see a shift more so to a complementary football style if these changes that Lincoln is doing, these wholesale changes, getting rid of his long-term defensive coordinator, bringing in new guys, guys that he really doesn't have any connection to and aren't just going to worship his feet in the ground he walks on. He's going to probably hear some hard truths, and hopefully in the end, I guess there's going to be a part of me that's going to be cheering for USC because I want Matt to succeed, and I think he will. He takes care of business there. It's a stepping stone job. He'll get a D coordinator, eventually a Power 5, potentially head coach position too, if he's able to turn that USC defense around. But as far as who the next coach is going to be, it hasn't been announced yet as we record this Wednesday night. There's about 3 to 4 candidates really that I kind of had circled or in the back of my mind as far as who NDSU could look at. Tyler Roehl, Bison OC, Tim Polasek, Brent Vegan, and this one's a little bit of a wild card, but he coached the Bison on the D-line from 2014 to 2016, and that's Jamar Cain, who right now is currently a D-line coach for the Denver Broncos. And right now, I'll start with him. He coached, like I said, he coached at NDSU. He's a tremendous recruiter. He's got Power 5 experience. So NDSU, they are looking to move up to the FBS at some point. I think he would be help with that transition potentially. He's got a lot of recruiting stories. He's got experience in the name, image, likeness path, which is something that NDSU is finally getting going in the Green and Gold Collective. Someone that could go out, raise money, has good connections all across the country. He's coached at LSU. He's coached at Oklahoma. He's coached at Fresno State. Last year he was at LSU. Now he's the D-line coach for the Broncos. Yes, Ethan?
You better hope he has nothing to do with the collective or you're going to get the hammer. So he can say you should donate, but he can't have anything to do with it.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he can give advice about how things should be doing and getting people to donate, developing those connections is what I was getting at. But the big concern with him is if you go look at his job experience, he has moved around quite a bit, and something that Matt Larson, the Bison AD, said when he wanted to when he had his press conference Monday that he wants someone that he wants to be there long term. I don't know, judging by Jamar Cain's previous job, the stints he's had, he hasn't held them for very long. He's moved on to, I guess you could say, greener pastures or different opportunities. I don't know if you want that where he's here for 2 years, has success, and leaves right away. I don't think that's good for any program. I'm not saying that coaches leaving is a bad thing, because that means that you have good coaches and you're wanted elsewhere. And if it's a step above, congratulations, tip your cap, go on. Next coach is Tim Polasek, who is currently the OC at Wyoming. He was the Bison offensive coordinator under Kleiman when he first got the job. He came back from Northern Illinois, and then he went to Iowa. He's a football lifer. He is a high energy guy. Jeff Kolpak had a story about him in his book Horns Up, about how when he got hired from Fargo, he was a logger in Wisconsin, and he had to sell some type of equipment to get to Fargo. And then when he got to Fargo, he didn't have a place to live for like the first 3 months he was on the job. So he just lived in the Fargo Dome facility, just slept on a couch that was open, and worked his way up from the bottom and came and took just worked his way up and got to where he was the OC in Wyoming. Very, very high energy guy. One of the stories that I remember is it would have been Kleiman's his first year as offensive coordinator. He's up in the booth, and NDSU kept running power over Sam Houston State. And I guess he was banging on the glass, screaming, "Let's effing go!" And he's definitely he'd be a salesman for the program. Very similar to the way Craig Bohl was. He's not afraid to get out into the community, kiss babies. Another person that's going to be very good about establishing relationships. He's a great out on the recruiting trail as well, and someone that has experience with NIL and recruiting and Power 5, Group of 5 experience. So another great hire that I think NDSU probably, I think if you had to do a top 2, I think he is on that short list. The next one is Brent Vegan, he's currently the Montana State head coach. He was offensive coordinator under Craig Bohl. He followed him to Wyoming when Craig got the job there. Played at NDSU. He's from Buxton, North Dakota, which is just north of Fargo, I believe. His wife's from here. He applied for the head job back in 2018, didn't get it when Kleiman left. But his name is kind of cooled down as far as a candidate goes. It sounds like he's pretty content out in Bozeman, has a good thing going. He's got a good team. Just have to keep building. And then the last one would be Tyler Roehl, who is, I think he is the team favorite. I think the first name that popped up in my mind and a lot of Bison fans' mind that if Entz were to leave, he would be the head man in charge. I think if there were odds, he'd be the betting favorite. He's current Bison OC. He's done a tremendous job. He applied for a job back 2 years ago, I believe, at East Tennessee State. Didn't get it. He's the player's choice. Yesterday or Tuesday, there was a big thing on Twitter saying Roehl Herd, as his last name was spelled Roehl Herd. Familiar with the program. He's played here. He's got tremendous Bison pride, which is a big part of that job, is doing things the Bison way. Hardworking.
Dylan, is he a Fargo kid too?
Yes. Yep. Played for West Fargo. So very familiar. He doesn't have a lot of coaching. I guess he's never been a head coach before. He hasn't really done a whole lot of coaching outside of the Fargo Moorhead area. I want to say he was the D coordinator at Moorhead High, and then he was a position coach at Concordia. And then when Craig Bohl left, Kleiman hired him on to be the running backs and fullbacks coach. And then he got promoted to the offensive coordinator when Entz got the job. The players love him. And I expect this to be a pretty quick hire, as no matter who. I think by the time NDSU leaves for Missoula on Friday, I wouldn't be shocked if they have the name. And it's tough because it's right next to the National Signing Day. National Signing Day, I believe, is next Wednesday. Does that sound right?
It's usually
something like that.
I think it's
or a Tuesday, one of those days. And like I said, he's the popular choice. Players are for him. Got a little bit of he's got a mixed bag with him when it comes to fans, but I think a lot of the fans that don't like him don't understand the game of football, and all you got to do is watch these last few games and shows that he knows what he's doing. And if he does get the head coaching job, he wouldn't be the one calling the plays. I think he needs to get some staff with some head coaching experience, similar to what Entz has done in the past, and Kleiman, getting guys that have been head coaches before, be somewhat. I think Tyler is a fiery guy by all accounts, but someone that can be like the ice to his fire. I also wouldn't be shocked that if he doesn't get the job, I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves. I think.
For you, Dylan.
Yes.
Do you think they might need to get away from the whole Bison way to win? Because when's the last time they lost to South Dakota State, South Dakota, in North Dakota in the season? Do you think they need a little bit of a kick from an outside hire? Do you think that would benefit them at all?
It's hard to say. Because like when Craig Bohl was not the popular hire when NDSU hired him, Gus Bradley was on staff. He was the D coordinator when Bob Babich left. And Craig, he was only here for a year. He was back in like the 80s. It was like in 1984. I want to say he was the defensive backs coach. I think NDSU is also in a tough transition phase where they lost a lot of guys to the portal. A lot of turnover. A guy like a Trey Lance, who they thought would be here for 5 years. COVID happens. He was projected as a first-round draft pick, left. Cam Miller's done a great job, but I think Trey Lance was the number 3 overall pick. I think maybe maybe you don't have to have the NDSU ties, but you have to have those qualities that NDSU prides themselves on and what's made NDSU. Because you can't completely get away from their identity. I mean, they're still a very successful program. They're in the semis. So I don't think you completely abandon ship, because it's not like they've completely fallen off the face of the earth. Their goals are bigger. They want to get to the FBS whenever that opportunity presents itself. So I think they need some, like all the things I've hired, they need someone with recruiting experience that have group of five, and then some Power 5 experience as well, because of the guys you're going to be going up against in the recruiting field, have those relationships from other areas of the country. But yeah, I don't think you need to get completely away, because I don't think the sky is falling in Fargo. Yeah, they lost a couple of games, but they've bounced back and they've somehow found themselves in a familiar spot.
How many people have they lost to the portal that like legitimately transferred up? I remember Parrish Cox. There was another guy I saw talking about this, saying the portals hurt them, but I just couldn't think of anyone that big of a name that made an impact at some school above them.
Marquise Siegel. There were a lot that it didn't work out, because there were a handful of guys where they didn't work out. They thought they were going to get something bigger, and it didn't work out. And they would have been far better off playing at NDSU this year than wherever they ended up. The only one last year that left that it's really worked out for is Marquise Siegel, who's a starting corner for the Kansas State. Omaha kid. It sounds like he must have known that he had the opportunity and had the offer to go. And then Kobe Johnson, it hasn't really worked out at Colorado State. Dom Jones, Courtney Eubanks, none of those guys you don't really hear a whole lot from. They and NDSU they've come on as of late, but early in the year they struggled with their corners, and if they would have stayed, I think it would have been I don't know if they would have beaten ND or UND or USD, but they certainly would have helped them out. But
makes sense.
Yeah, so then let's get to the ndsu-Montana game, the FCS semifinals, after a dominating win down in Vermilion. Bison are 1.5-point road favorites here on this one. It's going to be a hostile environment in Washington Grizzly Stadium. This is why you come to a program like NDSU or Montana, is playing a game like this. Raucous crowd. It's going to be a tremendous atmosphere, tremendous view. But keys to the game, it's 2:30 Mountain Time, going to be on, I believe is it ESPN2?
I thought it was ESPN2.
Let's see here.
Or is this one on ABC?
ESPN2. No, it'll be ESPN2. They were on ABC on Saturday. But
gotcha.
They need get the ball, establish the run early, like I've said the last 2 weeks. Big Sky teams against NDSU, they've struggled to stop the run, especially NDSU's run game. 2 weeks ago when they were over in Bozeman and Montana State, NDSU ran the ball for 279 yards. Cam continues to play at a high level. Big thing, again, something that they haven't done, knock on wood, hopefully that continues, is don't turn the ball over. And don't make those mistakes. Don't give Montana a short field. Defensively, Clifton McDowell, the quarterback, make him beat you with his arm. Win first and second down, get obvious passing situations. Keep him in the pocket. He's not going to hurt you from there. I don't think they have good enough receivers out on the edge either to where they can get separation. And if NDSU is able to get pressure and force him into a quick throw, force him into a turnover, I like NDSU's chances. And then in the special teams, Junior Bergen's had 2 or 3 special teams touchdowns this postseason. He's a difference maker on special teams. Kick it out of bounds on punts. Don't let him, or better yet, just don't punt at all. Just take the ball scored, similar to what you did against South Dakota. And then injury-wise for Montana, they're both their left guard and left tackle. they both left with injuries against Furman, along with their 2 safeties. And I doubt we're gonna hear anything on if they're playing or not until they trot out there for their first possession of the game. But another thing for NDSU is tackle well. They've done a good job tackling, not letting breaking loose, getting those extra yards, making it from a 3rd and long where they could add a 3rd and 10 to a 3rd and 5. They've done a good job of shoring that up. It's going to be important too, especially against Eli Gilman, the running back, who's got almost 1,000 yards.
Minnesota boy,
and then,
right?
Yeah, because I want to say he's a transfer from somewhere.
Delano. Maybe not Delano, but somewhere in that area.
Dazzle, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's a freshman.
Dazzle Colocado?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it says. But, and then take the crowd out of it. Don't let that crowd give life. Don't give them hope. Jump on them early. I think this is going to come down to a 4-quarter game, similar to what it was 2 weeks ago in Bozeman. Back and forth. Right now, NDSU, I think on paper, they're the better team. I think they are playing as a better team, and they're playing with a ton of confidence and swagger. And I think with the announcement Entz is leaving, I think that's going to bring them even closer together. They want one more game with their head coach because he said he's going to finish out the year. They want one more game, and I think they want a rematch against South Dakota State because we didn't talk much about that game because that game's going to be a blowout unless there's similar weather to what it was against Villanova, where it turns into a field position game and whoever makes the fewest mistakes wins. But I like NDSU in this game. I think NDSU is going to be able to force a couple of field goals in the red zone. That NDSU's defense is going to be able to force a couple of field goals in the red zone. I think that's the difference. I like NDSU to win 31-27. So,
there you go.
Yeah, and